The way to avoid losing your identity is to stay humble, number one, and have it be about the vision of the company, not about the individual.
Everyone wants to leave a legacy of positivity in the world around them. Whether you are a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, a nonprofit executive director, or even a soon-to-be entrepreneur, one fact is always true. The easiest and most effective way to catalyze change in the world around you is through commerce and through business. But how do you do it? You've come to the right place. Welcome to the Changemakers Collective, a place where people can come and get educated and encouraged and empowered to be the impact agent in the world around them. Brought to you by Silverback Ventures, Steph Thomas and Scott Woods have over 50 years combined experience helping companies and owners amplify the voice and multiply the impact of purpose-driven businesses. Join us each week as we discuss what it means to live a life of purpose on purpose.
All right. Hey, welcome back to the Changemakers Collective. We are super excited that you've chosen to spend some time with us. So we want to make it as valuable as possible. I'm Scott.
I am Steph.
And today we're going to talk about how to not lose your identity inside the business that is growing to the point where you need to make a monumental shift. One of the things that we're dealing with now with one of our clients, and it's interesting because it's actually two different shifts in the same company. One where the ownership is shifting from the parents down to the kids. And at the same time, they've grown to a point where they have potential buyers that want to come in and buy a portion of the company to scale it in a massive way.
Before you tell what you're telling, I think it's super cool because I think this is sometimes done poorly because I am part of the parent is retiring and the child is taking over and it is not going well.
Oh, yeah. The vast majority do not go well.
Right.
You have to be very strategic and systematic to ensure that goes well.
Versus the client that you are talking about, it is going well. They not only are transitioning well, but the kids are constantly asking for advice on movement, and the parent is not telling them what to do, but is giving solid advice and then leaving it to them to do it. So both dynamics has its own challenge, but yours is doing it right.
They are doing a fantastic job because I've seen it in my own family, and I may have mentioned this in one of our other episodes. My grandfather and my uncle owned a business in Philadelphia, and when my grandfather retired, he, in his wisdom, but also to the detriment of the business, created these golden handcuffs that was great for him, but basically bankrupted the company when the business went digital and they weren't prepared.
Right.
And it led to a spot where they argued and literally didn't talk for 2 years.
Oh, that's devastating.
And from that moment on, I was like, look, anytime I'm involved with family businesses, which we get to be involved with family businesses a lot, that dynamic is really, really hard. You still have to be able to have Thanksgiving dinner and be able to talk to each other and have it not be contentious.
Absolutely.
But I think one of the things, they're in a position now where they've scaled the business.
So wait, the dynamic is the parent has now
transitioning. Yep, we've transitioned the ownership over to the children. What's
That's
interesting is that it is 3 children, but only one of them is becoming an owner. That dynamic early on was very interesting place for navigation to happen. And I had the privilege of being able to help them navigate who and what and when and what roles are and all of that thing.
But they're all talking. Like it is. That's a key part of the recipe. They're all actively having conversations with each other.
And they're all coming at that conversation in humility.
Right.
And the conversation is not I-focused, it's company-focused. The same thing when you're getting ready to scale the business to an investor, bringing in an investor or a partner, it has to be company-focused, not I-focused. And I think where we are with this organization, if they've gotten some visibility in the marketplace because they're doing so well, that they've had somebody come in and said, hey, we'd like to buy at least half of your business, if not all of it. And we believe we can take your business from X dollars to 10X dollars in a very short period of time.
So using those dynamics, how do they not lose their identity in this transition? It's
been very interesting conversation because initially, and again, everybody who goes through that process and says, hey, I want to bring in a partner or I want to bring in an investor, it is always about, oh, well, if we do this, we can grow much, much, much faster, which is almost always true. However, the secondary conversation as it gets closer to that event happening is, well, hold on. What do you mean I'm not going to be able to have Friday lunches with the staff? Or what do you mean we're not going to be able to do this initiative that is more community focused? How do we ensure that our business looks the same today versus tomorrow when we have a partner? It's not going to look the same.
Scott, that's funny that you said that because the group that I'm talking about, the parent, 5 days a week, bought breakfast for the small team, 5 days a week. As the transition has happened, the son,
successor,
is like, yeah, I'm not doing that. If y'all want breakfast, bring it in. I'm not paying for your breakfast. And so there was a whole culture shift that happened that created some disgruntled employees. And, well, that's not necessarily the fault of the father and the son. It's just, hey, I do business this way and you do it that way. But there was no communication to the team and it created the problem. Versus on your side, they're over communicating along the way the whole time.
I think you're exactly right. I think the communication piece is by far the most overlooked component of that process because it's very straining and stressful on all the parties involved. If you've ever been involved in a merger or an acquisition part, there's a bunch of due diligence, there's a bunch of legal, there's a bunch of CPA work that is stressful, and you're more often than not, and I've experienced this a number of times, you get 3/4 of the way there and all of a sudden the principals are like, yeah, man, this is so hard. I don't know if I want to do this. I don't know if it's worth it. And I think what happens along the way is you have a third party come in and say, okay, hold on, take a pause. What is the goal? And this goes back to something we talk about all the time. The way to avoid losing your identity is to stay humble, number one, and have it be about the vision of the company, not about the individual.
Okay, well, let's talk about that for a second. So sometimes when there is a merger, so for anybody that's watching the national news right now, Union Pacific has just bought or in negotiation or whatever with Norfolk Southern. Those are railroads. So at some point, UP, Union Pacific, and all of their stuff is very different than NS, Norfolk Southern. So the conversation around the vision statement has changed. So with a merger or even if there's a shift from parent to son, 50 years ago when the parent built the company and had a vision, when the son or daughter or sons and daughters take over, the vision may change. And so you have to build that going into it. So when the merger happens or when the transition happens, it's all, again, communicated at a different level.
Well, and I think the way we're describing it, the vision in the
what problem are you trying to solve?
In the analogy of the two railroads, the vision I would imagine for both of them is similar in nature. They want to get as many goods across the country as humanly possible. The mission of how you do that could be completely different.
Right.
And I think that's the same with a merger or bringing in a partner. The partners coming in, one of the reasons they're coming in to become a partner is that they believe in the problem statement. They believe in the change thesis. They believe in the vision. they may have different experience to change the mission. The how you get there may be completely different. And I think that's where, to not lose your identity, you have to be able to recognize what you're trying to solve. And does the partner, this is a conversation we had very early on in this process, does the potential buyer share the vision of what you're trying to accomplish? And if the answer is no, you just say thank you and walk away.
Which they've done.
100% yes. That's 100% yes. They've had the forethought to say, this doesn't align with where we want to go as an organization, what problem we set out to solve. What's interesting now is the new one, their methodologies, because they're a much, much, much bigger company with much bigger processes, their mission could be dramatically different just because they have extra bandwidth and they have extra processes and they have extra capacity. But the vision of where they want to get to is exactly the same. And that's why it becomes an interesting and a exciting conversation to say, okay, we can go from 1x to 10x in 5 years. Bringing in this partner, we can go from 1x to 10x in 18 months. That means our impact in the community can be much more efficient and much more impactful in a much shorter time. Why would we not want to do that? So now the conversation becomes, why wouldn't we do this? What are we missing? That's one of the reasons we're involved, is how do we make sure that all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, but more importantly, to your point earlier, how do we make sure the communication with the staff is not of a level where they assume they're losing their job?
Right. Scott, it's scary for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's scary for the employees because, okay, what does this mean for me? But let's talk a few minutes about how scary it is for the person that has worked in this company. They've bootstrapped it. They've lost family time. They've done all the things, and now they have to let it go.
Mm-hmm.
That's scary.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you said, that's exactly the right way to explain it, because it's almost like you're letting your child go away and you're not expecting them to see him anymore.
Okay, so for anybody that has a child that they sent away to college or they help them move to a different town, there's something that clicks with the, well, wait a minute, I really don't know if they're coming home tonight.
Mm-hmm.
To, okay, I've got to trust that wherever they're laying their head, they are safe because they're not calling you to let you know. And that is a true fear that you can do zero about.
Oh, that's 100% true. And I think that's where the conversation around it not being about the individual, regardless of whether you have spent all your blood, sweat, and tears and family time building the business, it's still a business. You know, recently posted on LinkedIn the idea that you live to work, not work to live. And regardless of whether you own your business or you're working for somebody, your identity does not reside inside the four walls of your business. And until you can divorce yourself mentally and emotionally from the business as a whole, you're going to have that, my baby's getting ripped out of my hands and I no longer have control of it mental moment every single time. So one of the things that we provide a safe place to talk through that, to understand, okay, how do you think about it? How do you ensure that you write into the documents about selling your business the fact that you want it to have a certain impact? This company we're talking about has done a huge outreach into and working with the prison system where they're employing people that are coming out of incarceration. They don't want that to go away. So you have the conversation with the buyer. And if there's not alignment in critical things that you feel very important, very passionately about being an integral part of the business, then you have to be able to say, no, we're not going to go forward, and move on.
One of the things that you were talking about is the prison system, right? Like that is a staple. That's a non-negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
And when we've been a part of some conversations where they just want the money, they just want the investment, they just want the upfront conversation of using the example of the prison system didn't happen, not with this company, but happened further down the road. And then everybody is confused why it's going sideways. Before you do a merger, before you have really a plan with someone that says, these are my non-negotiables, no matter how big the price is.
Kind of like your core values for your business.
There you go.
Right? The guardrails that you want to ensure continue, the legacy of your business is going to have some words attached to it. We want to solve this problem, and in the process, we want to give opportunity for those who are historically disadvantaged.
Right.
Whether it's a ethnic group or a group of socioeconomic, whether it's those who are incarcerated, those coming out of addiction, whatever the case may be, that's a core guardrail of your business that you want to have sustained. And if you don't ingrain that into your business fabric, you have the opportunity to lose it.
Shameless plug. So a lot of times people will say, well, aren't you just fractional HR, fractional CFO? And we're like, no, that's a small portion of what we provide. But someone like a Silverback Ventures that can come alongside of you and say, hey, let's map this out. When you are the outsider coming in, now we are emotionally invested in you as a company or as a person, but really we're not emotionally invested in the process. Having someone like us come alongside of you, it's a win-win for you because you may not see the blind spots. You may see we're going to give you blah, blah $1 million for your business. And you're like, yeah, let's go. When we would say, okay, let's pump the brakes. Do they align with your company values?
Well, and I think it's become even more critical in this time and a season where businesses can go for decades and not make any money. And all they do is bring in new investor money and bring in new investor money, and their valuation gets higher and higher and higher and higher and higher until you realize it's nothing but a house of cards, and then everybody loses money. You have this mentality, especially in the younger people that I speak to a lot, that, okay, well, I'm going to start this tech company and I'm going to have my seed funding, and all of a sudden there's going to be another funding and another funding and another funding and another funding. And I'm like, well, hold on. What are you actually trying to accomplish? Well, I just want to build this software so people will buy it. That is always going to end in disappointment, always. There is one unicorn where it goes public and makes everybody millions of dollars out of tens of thousands of businesses. And frankly, the ones that have become unicorns very often aren't actually solving a problem. They're still paper tigers that are still getting money invested. Do you really want to be a part of a company that's actually not solving a problem? Right. If you do, you probably are not listening to us anyway.
Right.
So if you're about being a change maker in the world, then having the mentality around your business that it is about solving problems, whether I'm involved or not, helps you to define what those guardrails are, what the vision is. So when you bring in somebody, you have the right framework upon which to work.
Scott, we spent some time talking about when you are merging with another company or you're part of a buyout. But let's just talk about straight scaling your business. And as you are growing and scaling your business, not losing
your identity. Yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be decision points along the way that could easily take you in a direction that makes your company look a lot different in the world. There's shortcuts, maybe I should say it that way. There's shortcuts you could take that could help you scale. That would be the antithesis of your identity.
Let's talk a little bit about the difference between pivoting and changing your identity, because those are not the same.
No, they are not the same.
I would venture to say, even with Silverback, we had our start was one thought process. And as we continue to define our core values, define who we are, what we actually want to be a part of versus what we don't want to be a part of, we did a little bit of a pivot. We did not lose our identity though. This is, we always wanted to work with people that want to impact their community, make a difference, and grow their business. And we want to be that support for them. Losing your identity would look more like we want to help people that impact their community, but because Joe Schmo coffee shop is going to pay us $6 million, but they hate people and they want to burn the coffee fields down. If we took that gig, that would be us losing our identity.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. I mean, I think it goes back to our impact thesis didn't change.
Right.
Our how we created that impact did. So we started out thinking about doing workshops and conferences and stuff like that. And we quickly realized that our biggest opportunity to create impact and multiplication was not that. It was more over in the fractional leadership and
coaching.
Yeah, coaching and consulting world, much more so than the hour-long lunch and learn.
Right.
And the hour-long lunch and learn, while we enjoy doing them, is more of a marketing tool that creates opportunity for us to do the bigger impact things. And I think it's important, as we talk about, as you scale, your impact thesis doesn't change. The how changes as society changes and as technology changes. We live in the most ridiculously technologically changing environment that I've ever seen. It's almost like the internet is restarting, right? When the internet first came out, all of a sudden
we went from like dial up to internet speed.
Yeah. I mean, now you're talking about Star Trek stuff, right? Now you're talking about stuff that 20 years ago you were like, there's no chance that could happen. You know, you speak and all of a sudden, boom, something happens. You get a coffee or whatever the case may be. You know, there's a coffee shop in Fort Mill where there's no people that work there at all. None. Mm-hmm. You walk in and say, hey, I'd like a, pumpkin spice latte with 2 extra shots and a extra hot, and boom, it just spits it out. The fact that that's happening in a technological space means we have to go to market. We have to do the how we have our impact may look completely different tomorrow as it did yesterday.
Scott, I had an interesting conversation, and this is just all about pivoting, right? So you and I were talking, and I went to a restaurant at a local area, and you ordered the food much like you do on DoorDash. And there was one person that brought the food out. I never saw them again. And there's no other people other than the people that are helping tidy up working in the restaurant, which I thought was shocking and amazing at the same time. So I reached out and I said, hey, can you talk about this? Can I ask some questions? Because this is super strange for me. And they said they were having a hard time employing people. And DoorDash is a real thing that is happening. People are very comfortable ordering their food online and having a stranger deliver it to them and not speaking to them again. So why not do that in the restaurant? And I thought, okay, that's a pivot.
Yeah, it is.
Like, that's huge. But you are seeing that all over. This isn't just a regional thing. This is happening everywhere.
What's interesting about what your analogy that you just described is it has fundamentally changed the identity of that restaurant. Mm-hmm. That restaurant is no longer a event or a interaction, a date place where you're having the atmosphere of going out to a restaurant and being served. It is strictly a assembly line of you getting food. So the only difference between getting DoorDash and getting that is the food is hot.
Right. You're sitting there. Okay, here's the other cool thing about this particular...
Which I just don't understand, by the way.
Yeah, I don't either. But the other thing about this particular restaurant is it was... Dave & Buster's is like a place for people that are listening that are not in this area. But this place had like pickleball and basketball courts and video games. And I mean, there was like all kinds of things going on. But yet they were ordering food and hanging out and watching the games that were on TV. So it literally was a place that a lot of people were hanging out, but there was like no servers. None.
Yeah. So their impact thesis was that people want to go there for the other stuff.
Right.
And the food is an extra benefit.
Right.
It's like going to a bowling alley and saying, okay,
I'll
I
have
want to
some
go
chips.
and bowl, but if they serve food, even though it's going to be mediocre, I'll have it.
So when I
And again, but then if you turn around and take it to the other extreme, where you go to a date night restaurant,
right.
you expect
There's a high expectation.
and not only do you expect, but the experience is made better if it's done well, and that's why these restaurants can charge so much money. If it's done well, you walk away from that experience feeling some kind of way because of the interaction with the server and because of the atmosphere generated in that business. Their impact thesis is not, I want to give you food.
Right.
Their impact thesis is, I want to create an experience for the customer that is going to take them out of their day-to-day and put them in a good position.
Okay, so we're using that because, again, I went down that because these are pivots versus losing your identity versus, so the middle ground of that is now a lot of fast food chains. I've noticed at McDonald's, Arby's is doing that, Taco Bell is doing it. And again, it's a pivot because there's less people after COVID that were going back into these type jobs for a period of time, right? So when you go into, we'll use McDonald's as an example.
There's no interaction with anybody.
You go, you pick it on the board, you walk over and it's laying on a tray on the side and there's like, okay, I want some ketchup. Who do I ask? Okay, they've scaled or they've changed, but it doesn't fit their core model. And it may, but as a community, as a culture, well, it's a little confusing for us.
Well, again, that's to your point originally. That isn't a total identity change. McDonald's started as a community burger joint that you went to and has moved to a
fast food.
The reason it's called fast food is that you don't have an interaction. You don't have an experience. You walk in, you give them money, you get food. It's just an
transaction.
Alternative. It's just an alternative to cooking it at the house, right? So I think as the business continues to grow, you have to understand, know, and embrace your impact thesis and not shy away from being, I want to provide, in our case, we want to empower impact-focused businesses. We want to help amazing people doing amazing things. Those are the things that we want to do. We want to amplify and multiply. How we do that may be completely different 5 years from now versus today. But understanding what your impact thesis is, sticking to it, and being flexible enough to say how I go to market may look different tomorrow is a key differentiator. And how your ability to scale is dependent on your ability to modify your how, not your why.
I love it.
Yeah. And continue as you grow your business, focus on your impact thesis and continue to live a life of purpose, on purpose, every single day. And until next time, thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Thank you for listening to the Changemakers Collective. If you've enjoyed this episode, please help us grow our community by leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts or rating us on Spotify.
You can also find our podcast on YouTube, so you can come and leave us a comment over there as well. If you want support growing your business and scaling your vision, visit us at silverbackventures.org or connect with us on LinkedIn.
Thanks again, and we'll see you on our next episode.